And
What?
we are live. Welcome, Danielle Saint-Just. Did I get it close?
Saint-Just.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm from Kentucky. We say Versailles, okay? um, but anyway, Danielle, welcome to the show. How are you doing today on this lovely day?
Good. How about you? How about yourself?
Oh, work is over for the day, so it's, good. And our favorite Canadian is in the comments already.
Fresh from his polling station, I bet, having done his civic duty to elect our new prime minister. Well done, Tim. Congratulations to them.
Let's see. So, Danielle, you write primarily sci-fi, correct? But
Yes.
a little bit of fantasy because nobody can just stick to one genre apparently, which is actually wonderful. You had a cozy mystery you're working on.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet though. So
Happy Tuesday.
it is a good Tuesday, by God, because I'm on leave, so it's an awesome Tuesday.
So tell us about your books, because E.L. Montague will be in the chat soon, and he'll be demanding to see the covers.
And he'll be asking you like what every book is behind you, and are those VHS tapes back there?
VHS.
Okay, a couple of them
I've
back
got
there.
I've got some PlayStation games here. I've got a couple old DVDs of some old anime. I got some Sherlock Holmes. I got tons of books.
Always important. So tell us about your books, and if you have them handy, show us the covers.
Yeah, so I got them right here. Well, I have a bunch of books that I've published. I have published I have published 4 novels and a couple novellas and several short stories. But this one is my latest. This is my latest for the Galaxia Mortem series. There's going to be 4 books. So this is the first novel, The Disk Mirror Solution.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the second novel, The Voyage of the Norm Bissonnette.
Okay.
And the third novel is going to come out later this year. I'm going to publish it later this year.
So, what are your novels about? Give us an idea. What would we expect if we read your novel?
This series is Sherlock Holmes meets cyberpunk meets space opera.
What? Define space opera for me. It's one of those things that people throw out quite a bit, and I've never really pinned it down in my own head.
Yeah, it's opera set in space.
Okay.
It's lots of different worlds, space travel. Lots of just a total space age. That's how I look at it as just. Lots of space musical, yes. Lots of space-based life. Space travel is a thing that is just accepted. Like we accept automobile travel.
Well, let's ask you real quick first then. If this is let's get this out of the way quick, Mike. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek.
Trek? Which one?
Oh, the Next Generation's my favorite.
So would it be safe to assume that Picard is your favorite captain?
Maybe. Probably.
Who's your least favorite captain?
What's his name? Commander, what's his name from Deep Space Nine?
Cisco.
You're done. We're out. Okay.
All right. Bye. Bye.
I'm gonna start drinking, Mike. You carry on.
Someone's got some thin skin.
No, I'm good.
Because he's just always so grumpy.
Oh, he's on a space station. He doesn't get his own ship.
Yeah, well,
he's grumpy too.
So if you don't like grumpy people, I'm guessing you haven't seen our show before.
If I had, would I have agreed to come on?
Wow. Did you come to the wrong place? No, it's all good.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, well, if we're going to ask our favorite questions, Ro.
Yeah, let's get these out of the way. Go ahead.
Okay, so Danielle, I want you to picture you're going down the main street of your city. You are in a saddle. You can either be riding a T-Rex or a Griffin. Which one do you choose and why? There's only one correct answer. Go.
Yeah, well, the correct answer is my answer. So it's a Griffin because you can fly. Only a pterodactyl would be probably big enough that I know of as a dinosaur that could fly and carry me around, possibly. So the Griffin, because then I could fly.
Thank you. You just redeemed yourself for your horrible Cisco take.
Oh, Lord. I didn't know you were so committed to poor Commander. Was it Commander Cisco?
I'm not that committed to him. I just
He really likes Janeway. That's his favorite.
Yeah, I did too.
Negative.
I did too. That was I think that was a bold choice that they made because it was going outside of all of the expected things. Some of the things they made were, some of the choices were more uninspired, but they didn't have that whole decades of backstory of all their enemies and allies to draw on. So some of them fell kind of flat, but that was to be expected.
The premise was very interesting.
Yeah.
I just, as I watched the first season, I remember sitting there thinking, well, when is this woman going to die so Chakotay can take over? Because that's who should be the captain of this ship. But anyway, my bad. All right. So you've been writing for quite a while, but you published your first book in, you said about 10 years ago?
Yeah.
For anybody listening, she didn't say that to you. She said it to us before.
Yes.
My poor segue. Sorry. Tim, stop. I understand you had your day. The Canadian flags are flying, the poutine cannons are out and all that, but just stop. I'm sure Janeway is fine. I never met the woman. I'm sure she's very nice. Back to your books. So, cyberpunk, Sherlock Holmes, space opera. There's obviously a lot going on there. Are you chanting CA?
No, it's CA.
Oh, Lord.
CA.
Which of these three things kind of takes predominance in your series? Because looking at the covers and everything, I would say the Sherlock Holmes part. I mean, it feels more like a mystery. If I was to pick that book up and look at the cover, I would think it's probably a mystery more than a space opera or anything else.
Yeah. I'm going to answer it by saying pretty much they're all equal. There's a dual point of view. There are 2 point of view characters, and one point of view character is much more carrying the cyberpunk aspect, and the other one is carrying the kind of space opera, but they're both embroiled in the mystery. So I guess if I had to pick, I would say the mystery because it encompasses both of the point of view characters.
So at its heart, it's a mystery. It's just kind of wrapped up in these other things.
Both of the main characters are trying to solve the same mystery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they coming at from 2 totally different angles? Is what I'm getting? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. They don't know each other. They're not connected for most of the novel that we know of. Is reading it, and so the thing that is bringing them together is the mystery portion.
Okay. So how did you get started writing? What was the drive, the motivator that had you hit publish on your first novel?
Well, I started writing as a kid. I just loved reading, and I just love science fiction and fantasy since I was a child, and mysteries, and mysteries. But so the natural thing for me was just to start writing. So I had a whole bunch of novels already written by the time I published my first one, just learning as I went.
A whole bunch. Define a whole bunch.
I don't know, maybe 10.
So you just have like a stack of novels written in a desk drawer somewhere?
Well, on computer, but yeah, the first several I don't think I would ever publish because they were learning and I was young. So I was learning how to write, and so I learned how to write by writing novels. And yeah, so and I have a fantasy series that I started, and I have 2.5 novels written in that, but I just they were learning, so they were the part of the learning process. So by the time I got almost finished, I thought I would have to have a major rewrite to publish these, so I just kind of dropped them. But of course they were valuable because then I learned more how to write.
So what have you gotten from the experience of publishing your first 4?
That a lot of things. That the biggest challenge with self-publishing is letting people know that my novels and my stories exist in the first place.
Yep.
And so that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest and really the only thing. The only challenge is letting people know. And I know that goes for many self-published authors.
Yeah.
Have you ever entered like SPIFBO or any of those type of contests?
I did the SPSFC. Was it SPSFC? Was it?
The space boat, yeah.
Oh, is that what it?
Well, that's what I call it because I can never get the letters in order, so I just call it space boat.
Oh, well, I did this last time for the first time. Yeah, I did this the last one that just happened. But I've been entering contests off and on through the years, and it's funny because I don't remember what it was, the University of Iowa or some big writing university. They had a contest and they were going to choose a collection of short stories, and this was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago as well. And I entered a bunch of my science fiction and fantasy short stories, and they published the winner, and then I got this email from somebody saying, "You were the second choice. Bunch of us wanted you to win." And it was, this letter just saying how great my thing was, and everybody wanted me to win, and the powers that be didn't choose me. I love this letter, but I would have preferred to win the contest.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but a letter like that is pretty good because
Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
most people get nothing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, just drink straight. No, it's not straight whiskey. It's cut with a little bit of water there, J4.
Somebody's trying to monitor your drinking. I have tea. Sorry, I have just tea.
That is a giant mug of tea.
Yes.
John encourages us in drinking, so it's it's not a school night for me, so it's all right. Did you ever get any decent feedback from any of those that like kind of impacted you in a way, to move you forward? Or
well, this last I have a couple of novels. I have one novel that's complete and that I've been submitting to agents, and I have another novel that is almost, yes, Monitor Rose drinking, yes. There's another novel that I have probably 95% complete, which I'm so excited about. And of course, I'm going to need to rewrite that afterward. But the one I have that's complete is very interesting. It's about a humanoid robot, and she doesn't have a head. she's because she's built as a war robot for a general who's only a head, who's just the only surviving part of this general is the head, and the robot is supposed to be just a body, and the robot achieves consciousness. So therefore, the story is told from the humanoid robot's point of view.
The headless robot achieves consciousness without the general's head on it?
Correct. So there's a reason, there's a logical, scientific reason for why this robot achieves consciousness. And I have been submitting it, and a bunch of agents, I mean, I've gotten a lot of full requests, and a bunch of agents, like big agents, said, I almost took this on, and I'm going to pass on this. Please give me another, please, if you have another one, please submit that. And I got so many almosts with this one. So
sensing a theme here, Danielle.
Yeah. So, and then I have another one. My one that I'm writing now is this one is Robotech meets Jack Reacher meets the Klingons.
The Klingons.
I'm sorry, not Jack Reacher, not this one. No, Jack Reacher was the last one. Was the headless robot. So this one is Robotech meets Count of Monte Cristo meets the Klingons. That's what this one is.
So have you watched Jack Reacher then?
Oh yeah, well, I watched some of the first series, but I mean for the series I watched the first year of the series, but really it's because I love the novels.
So the guy who plays Jack Reacher, I think his name is Alan Ritchson.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with his name. I know who you mean.
Yeah. The problem I have is his previous big role was in a Spike TV television show called Blue Mountain State, where he played a thick as hell linebacker on a college football team. And so it's really difficult. I have to watch a lot of Jack Reacher to get into his new character without seeing his old character.
Yeah. To cleanse your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes some cleansing, actually, if you've ever seen Blue Mountain State.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the state of your mind.
Well, that takes some
cleansing. Well, I have to say before we move on, I think it was in one of the novels, and someone called him Sherlock Homeless. I think that was so hilarious. The perfect way to describe Jack Reacher, Sherlock Homeless.
And Tim McKay is showing us that he watches the CW. Sorry, you just lost points, Tim.
Oh Lord!
I've never seen Titans or Smallville. But.
We have been joined in the chat by IMDb.
Oh, but tell us 3 of your favorite movies, and I guarantee you Mike hasn't seen 2 of them.
Well, I haven't seen 2 of them either. I don't know. I would have to think on that. I would have to think about that. Oh, what were you going to ask?
We have no idea. We never know.
Oh, I interrupted you to say the Sherlock Holmes thing, which I still think is funny. Yeah, so I just love all sorts of science fiction. I like, my novel about the humanoid robot. It's called Mariah B. That's really military science fiction. So I just love all types of science fiction. I think that science fiction is a fascinating genre that just brings humanity can be inspected and dissected because the authors are stressing humanity in ways that they haven't been stressed yet, if you understand what I mean. They're put in positions that they haven't been yet. And I find that interesting because we're entering a new age here with AI, which has already been explored ad nauseum by science fiction authors. So it's kind of science fiction aficionados are seeing are going to be seeing some of what we've already digested from reading and writing about these topics. We're going to be seeing them in the next several years. Some of those things happen.
I think science fiction is very appealing for a lot of people because, unlike dystopian fiction, it offers an opportunity for better.
Yep.
Right. I mean, it seems like a lot of the really good science fiction is very kind of hopeful in nature.
Yep.
Whereas if you were to, and I imagine it must be difficult to write that. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the opposite, actually. In a time where so little seems hopeful, that it must be difficult. It's either very difficult to write hopeful science fiction, or maybe it's very kind of calming and reassuring and kind of soothing, I guess, to write something that is more positive in outlook.
Well, I think dystopian fiction is extremely easy. It's easier to be a pessimist and to be a negative and to have a negative outlook than to be positive, in my opinion. And I
the laughs are better. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the laughs with the tears coming down the cheeks is easier. Yeah, it's easier to poke fun. It's easier to be dismal. So yeah, I mean I like certain dystopian fiction, but not as a rule. I don't like things to be glorious and wonderful through the whole novel, but I like to have that feeling of humanity overcoming what these obstacles the author set in front of them. You know, the thing is, humanity is and has been up until now endlessly ingenious and endlessly able to overcome. So showing humanity not failing. I mean, of course we have failures, but overall failure, like failing horrendously, that doesn't seem like humanity. That doesn't seem like what humanity does. That's not our ethos.
And I think most science fiction, especially space-based science fiction, the underlying premise of it is if we have become a spacefaring society, that we got over ourselves enough to kind of work together to get to that point. Even if after that point things have kind of fallen apart a little bit, there was a point where we were able to work together to do something, which is certainly further than we are right now in our living rooms reading that story. So that's a good thing, right?
Have either of you read Jack Vance?
Jack Vance? I have not. Nope.
He's one of my favorite authors. He's an old school science fiction author.
We may have read him up. I see how it is.
No, he's one of my favorites, and he brought up something that he didn't bring it up as in, blatantly, but he set most of his novels, even if they were not connected at all. He set most of them in the same shared universe where all of these planets are in this giant, loosely defined, cooperatively, not governed, but anyway, it's called the Okumene, and it's all of these planets, and they all have a general agreement to to cooperate, trade with each other, and be kind of at least a little bit, following the same kind of laws. And then there's the beyond, where all of the lawless people go and live. But the point is, each one of these planets has its own unique culture, and all of these people kind of go to this, all of these people that have this same little outlook go to this planet and live on it and exclude others, and they all become these very unique, weird cultures. And so that's my way of saying, I don't think we're going to have to work together to be spacefaring nation. We're not going to go out. It's not going to be like Star Trek, where it's one world government and we all are happy on the Earth, and we all, as one humanity, go out into the stars. People are going to take this, if we do get to the point where we are terraforming worlds and are able to freely settle where we want, we're going to be using it to seclude ourselves with the people that we want to seclude ourselves with, in my opinion.
So I wish I remembered the name of the movie or the book it was based on, where they have the giant spaceships and each one is its own country. Like I don't know if it was a Doctor Who episode or what.
Oh.
But there's like this giant, it wasn't a Doctor Who episode, but this giant British ship, that had left Earth, and it was just an enormous kind of so it's its own country now. And I don't remember the name of it, so we'll just move on. Sorry.
No, but I liked the Star Trek ethos, but I think that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's definitely aspirational. Certainly more of a vision than a mission statement. So,
and I think also that at the point where they started it, it was using so much more of the resources, so much of a larger percentage of the great minds of a certain country were needed to get the space program off the ground. Haha. But now private companies can do it. Private companies can do it for much less of a portion of the GDP of a certain nation. So tons of different kinds of people will be able to go out in space without cooperating with the rest of the Earth. So that's one reason.
Hopefully some of them do. So what are you working on right now?
Yeah, the Count of Monte Cristo meets Robotech meets.
Oh, that's not what I
meets Klingons.
What I meant was, what was the latest fantasy book you've worked on?
Fantasy? Oh my gosh!
It
was the.
We're pretty heavy fantasy side here.
It's not a novel. It is a novella, but I mean, it's 3/4 of a novel. It's called Marjorie Vampire Dentist, and it is about a dentist to vampires. She's not a vampire herself, but she's bamboozled into, not bamboozled, but she's kind of coerced into becoming a vampire dentist. And I'm going to tell you why they need a lot more dental care nowadays. Because
I'm all in for this.
You're all neck or you're all ears. It's because of the prevalence of type 2 diabetes. Some, it's got a higher sugar content in blood, and some of the vampires like the sweet blood, as they call it, and they start getting a lot of cavities. So
Right.
they suddenly need a lot more dental care.
This is kind of like one of those doctors who works for a mob boss, and sews people up in little back rooms.
Exactly.
Things.
Yep. She has to work at night, she's got
So you live in California. Where were you when this idea took hold?
It just popped into my head. I don't know. Just
Out of the
randomly.
blue.
Yep. That's where I get a lot of my ideas from my dreams. And then secondly, I get a lot of ideas that just pop into my head and I'm like, oh, that's
Mike,
funny.
do you ever get ideas from dreams?
No, never.
You are not the first person, Danielle, who said that you get ideas from dreams. And it's really kind of annoying me that my dreams are not useful in any kind of way to writing.
You can't data mine your dreams. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
So, Ro, I'm going to tell you, I just read an article today from a creativity guru, which, I want this job.
He's a creativity guru.
You know what? He gets money somehow, so he is creative.
All right.
But he said, the best, most creative ideas come from two disparate things that you link together somehow. And he said that his recommendation for people is to read the Sunday New York Times obituaries and just read the people's lives, because they'll be completely different from anything you've ever seen before. And something will just spark like, hey, this guy, created this computer thing. But then, and he said, this is the best way to, amp up your creativity is to read the New York Times obits. So there you go. That is the service I have for today for everyone.
That is the writing equivalent of an old George Carlin bit, where he said, if you nail together two things that have never been nailed together before, some schmuck will buy it from you.
Yeah.
So that's what you're telling us to do, is just find two entirely random things like dentists and vampires. And okay.
You can write an entire book about
How come this isn't a novel, Danielle? Because this has novel all over it. Why did you stop?
A novella. I mean, it's pretty big. It's like 60,000 words.
Oh, that's a novel.
It's almost, or not 60,000. It's like under 60,000, but it's a novella. It's pretty long.
Are you going to go back to that?
It's open. I mean, I could definitely go and write a sequel to it, definitely. But I just have no interest in writing anything other than science fiction at the moment.
I've got to stay with it for a minute. What was the plot point of that? I mean, what was the kind of antagonist arc with that?
Well, the antagonist, it changes, like at first she's fighting against Marjorie is the main character. At first she's fighting against her fate, where she's coerced into becoming a vampire dentist, and then she finally overcomes that and gets into a groove. And then her father has Alzheimer's, and he falls, like he and a female vampire kind of fall for each other, and then she has to worry about that. And he's got the beginning stages of Alzheimer's. It's not like he's just kind of starting out on his Alzheimer's downward trajectory, and then he and this vampire fall for each other, and then she has to worry about that, and then she gets embroiled in vampire politics because who she's working for in the vampire community didn't go through the right proper channels to get her on board, and then it turns into this huge thing. So she then has to fight against the vampire powers that be in Brooklyn.
What's that, Mike?
In Brooklyn, you say?
Yes, she is a dental. She has a dental office in Brooklyn. Interesting.
So I'm struck with this, and I'm not a vampire person, generally speaking.
Me neither.
Because vampire stories, we've all been turned off from it by what is that freaking horrible thing, Twilight?
Yeah.
Right, and that kind of sickly sweet kind of whatever. But I mean, when you think about it, I guess if there were vampires, they would probably need dental care, I guess. So how did, what was your dentist character, what did it take for her to believe them when she said they were vampires? And I mean, I don't spoil the book, but spoil this part. How did they meet?
Somebody just came to her desperately seeking dental care. A vampire came into her office, and it's in the first chapter. So,
and what's that book called?
Marjorie, vampire dentist. Marjorie, vampire dentist. And my website is just my name.com, without, of course, without the dot. Just all together.
Danielle Saint-Just.com,
yeah. Okay. So anybody who wants to see my books can just go to my website. It still makes me, I mean, it's a really funny read. It's a really fast read too, that novella. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of it. I'm just the whole kind of concept of that. Have you thought about pitching that? I mean, out there in California, you are like next door to so much stuff. Does it make it easier or more difficult to say, right, I'm going to send this off to somebody? Or
actually, I did have some guy. I met some guy and he liked the idea, and he said he was going to pitch. He was in the business. He said he was going to pitch it to his friends. Unfortunately, I didn't hear back from him, but obviously it's catchy, you know, it's got that intrigue.
Right. It's just quirky enough to become a sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have some questions about your characters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure. We like that, Mike.
I want to learn more about them, but we don't want spoilers. So for your cyberpunk Sherlock Holmes space opera, who is one of your main characters?
One of them is called Armentor, and the other one's called Redchelate.
Okay, which one is a little more wild? Is one of them more wild than the other?
Redchelate, the one who's the cyberpunk person, is more impulsive.
Okay, so I want you to envision this.
Mm-hmm.
You and Redchelate go to Walmart. I don't know, maybe you're drunk, but you go to Walmart. And you turn around to go get a basket, and when you turn back around, he's gone. Where has he gone, and what is he doing, and what happens now that he's running free in Walmart?
It's a she, and she, let's see, what did she do? Oh, she goes and hacks into the what do you call it, security system to, I don't know. She goes and hacks into the security system to disable, getting spied on or something. I don't know, something like that.
But she'd head for the computers and recap it. Okay. Would she announce there's a blue light special?
No.
That's Kmart.
I know, but you have to be of a certain age to even know what that is.
But she would do that, and she would probably do that because obviously she'd be out of her element.
Okay.
In Walmart.
Okay, and so now we're going to take the other character, Armator.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
Wow, exactly. Look at that. Memory's working tonight. Okay, so if Armator were to replace Watson in a Sherlock Holmes novel, how would that change the novel?
Let's see. She would be a lot more she would be a lot more deductive than Watson, so she would be able to do a lot of the deduction herself, but she would doubt herself. So she would she might come to the she might discover a lot of the stuff before, but before Sherlock, or at the same time, but she would doubt that she got the right answer.
So Sherlock would still be in the lead, and she'd still defer to him because she'd be filled with self-doubt. And then afterwards, she goes, "I knew that. I knew that 20 minutes ago."
Yep.
So what's a good writing day look like for you, Danielle?
Writing for a couple hours in the morning, and then I don't write unless I really move to. I like to write for a couple hours, and then go off and do other things.
I have nothing to do with writing.
I'm sorry? Yeah, exactly. Go get some exercise and do other things. Because if I write too long, then the quality goes down. I might enjoy it. I enjoy writing, but the quality goes down, and I don't like to give myself any sort of word count goal. I've tried that several times in the past, and I meet it. I meet the goal because I made that commitment, and I meet the goal, and then I look at it and say I have to rewrite a lot of this because I force myself to meet the goal, and I might force myself to not force myself, but subconsciously I might extend a scene or a chapter beyond what it needs to be to kind of fulfill a word count goal, because I like to let my subconscious work on things and come at the story every day with new ideas instead of writing them all out and then kind of exhausting everything and forcing things.
So not a NaNoWriMo person?
I tried that once. That was a big mistake. I wrote 50,000 words, over 50,000 words, but I hated it. I had to start over again, and it just, that is not my process. I write quite a bit. I just don't write to a specific word count goal.
So if you were given an offer to be traditionally published, but they said you have to be exclusive to us, you can't self-publish anything else, would you want that or not?
It depends if it were, if they said for 5 years or something, I would definitely say yes, but not if it was signing my life away.
What do you have any other genre goals? Is there anything else that you see yourself kind of diving into in the future, genre-wise?
Well, I love mysteries, but I'm able to fold that into the science fiction probably. And I did actually write a fantasy, a gas lamp fantasy that I published that also has kind of a mystery in it. So, oops, I knocked over one of my books. I'm glad that I'm able to do that as well because I do love mysteries as well. Obviously, I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan, and I like Agatha Christie, and what's his name, Jack Reacher. There's a lot of mystery in Jack Reacher. I like those sorts of novels. I do like some thrillers, but I put those elements into the science fiction and fantasy that I do write.
No romance or romantasy or anything like that in your future. That face says it all pretty much.
I'm sorry, I'm not a romance
put pineapple on your pizza or something. Oh, stop!
I'm not a romance fan, and I don't like writing it. I have written it when I feel like the story needs it, but I don't prefer to write it. I prefer to write without romance. Yeah, but sometimes the story does need it, so I do write it, and I do my best to write it well, but it's definitely not something I want to write.
You're amongst friends here. On that take is perfectly fine.
Some people do it well and whatever, but I have a good writing friend who that's all she writes is romance, and like, all right, you take it.
Someday, when really need the money, maybe I'll do it. Because I think that's probably where all the money is.
You know what, though? I do think that there's money in a lot of genres. It's just that the traditional publishing machine only concentrates on a few things and does that well, and they have concentrated on romance. There's a ton of books that the rest of us would love to be able to be buying that aren't available.
They chase trends, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they create trends, then they chase trends
Yep.
until it's like that kid in 8th grade who brought the boombox on the school bus and replayed the same song over and over and over again for 3 weeks until you absolutely couldn't stand that song.
I don't think that ever happened to me.
You have to be of a certain age to understand and really understand the pain of that. But I mean, that's what they do, right? They just suck all the life out of everything, every last drop of it, and then they'd want nothing to do with it again until, some years down the road, for whatever reason, it becomes,
Popular again. Yeah.
But Mike,
Yes,
do you have something?
I do. I have a question for you. Actually, two-part question, which is, what is it that you like best about the writing process, and what do you like least? Whether it's editing or writing or anything in between, or dealing with artists who are always late giving you your artwork. Maybe that's just me imposing that there because I'm waiting on 3 different artists currently. But
geez.
So let's talk about you, though. That's why we're here today. So what do you like and what do you not like about the process?
I like getting just totally immersed. My favorite thing is getting totally immersed in my story and writing it, and not even realizing that 3 hours have gone by. That's really literally my favorite part. I do like a lot of the other processes about writing. I do like editing. I do like everything about it, but that's my absolute favorite part. And my least favorite part is finishing a novel, because I go through this mourning process. Really, I get really sad because I have to say goodbye to these characters, and it's just, I get sad. I really do. It's my least favorite part. And it's funny because I get so excited to finish the novel. As I said, I'm like maybe 95% finished with this latest novel. And then, so I've just reminded myself that once I do finish, I'm going to be sad. So, yeah.
So I have some advice for you. This has worked great for me.
What?
One, you write series, so you don't have to say goodbye so fast. And then 2, you never finish a series. You just start a new one. And that way you never say goodbye. That's what I'm doing currently.
How many books in your series?
So my fantasy series, I've written 4 out of 7. My sci-fi, the second one out of 5 will be coming out this summer. And then I just started a novella series. It's going to be like 10 or 12 novellas.
Wow.
And I have the first one is, I don't know which is coming out first, my novel or my novella. One will be June, one will be September. And then I'm already writing the second novella in that series because, there's like 10 or 12, so I have lots of space. So, why finish something when you can just start another series? Sooner or later, my readers are going to figure this out and, boycott. But
why tell something in one novel when you can do it in 10?
Right, exactly.
There you go.
Well, and if you write fantasy, I mean, it kind of comes with the territory. I mean, there's not that many standalone fantasy books.
Yeah. What are, like, if you had to pick one series in science fiction and in fantasy, what would be your number one series in each genre?
So when I decide to do my sci-fi, The Martian is one of my all-time favorite books. And I really love The Expanse. And I was like, I can't do something in either of those time periods because it'll just be a poor ripoff of that. So I was like, okay, let's triangulate. Let's do like midway between. So I'm not, so Mars is inhabited, but you can't go interstellar, and they're not all throughout the solar system, just, Mars and the moon. So that was kind of my triangulation. And then from there, once you start writing, your characters start making decisions that you weren't aware they were going to make, and it kind of goes its own way. I name a lot of different authors that I know get characters in my book, and none of them act the way the author is in real life, because I'm like, you know what? I need someone to, be dastardly here. And, that's not Tim Wolf, but by God, in my story, it is Tim Wolf. And then fantasy, when I started, I was like, you know what? Hardly anyone writes Celtic mythology. Everyone does medieval ages, and do we need another medieval age fantasy? So I did Celtic, and I'm a chemist by training, so I like to do research. That's my favorite part, is researching, not writing, just researching the world. So I did so much. And oh my God, Tim, yes, Steve McKay is going to be in my next book. If you haven't seen Tim's Twitter, he always is talking to hypothetical Steve, who says terrible things, and Tim corrects him. But
I love research as well, and I always try to make my science fiction especially just be scrupulously correct, because I have the big kind of hand wavy thing of interstellar travel. So everything else, I want to make sure it's completely in line with physics as we know it, right now. And so that hopefully, people will ignore it. But it's, it's a conceit that almost everybody uses, is the interstellar travel and, interstellar communication. I mean, I stay within the galaxy, but other than that, I want to make sure everything is exactly correct.
So for my sci-fi, I had Ryan Patrick was on the show, and he's an actual aeronautical engineer. He's like, hey, Mike, I read your book. It's a hard-ish sci-fi. There's a few things that aren't quite right. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I get wrong? He's like, no, you're fine. And he won't tell me. He's like, no, it's a good book. It's fine. I'm like, you told me there was something wrong. What is it? And he will not tell me.
That would drive me crazy. I would get someone else. I would pay someone else to read it. So tell me. You know what you can do? Is ask Grok. Just load it into Grok or ChatGPT chapter by chapter and ask. I mean, I've only used Grok, so I don't know, but it's really good at, pointing out. I mean, it's nice because I used to have to do that research. Go to the NASA website. Go to it used to be a lot more painstaking. So now just let the LLMs do the search, but you still have to check them, because they might go to some rando website and get some stupid answer. So.
Yeah, I listened to Houston. We have a podcast for like a year and a half before I wrote my sci-fi, just because they'd say something like, "Oh, yes, but in my book they're going to perfect this technology, and it's not going to be a aspirational thing."
What podcast did you listen to when you wrote Chapter 18?
We're not talking about that, Ro.
Uh-oh. Is Chapter 18 some sort of boondoggle?
So
say that.
I will tell you then. Thanks, Ro. So when I was writing this book, my main character is a 17-year-old, very sheltered kid. And so he gets the idea in his head, today's the day. I'm going to go have sex. So he goes to the strip club with the intense purpose of, this is what's going to happen. And I wrote it. And Ro's my editor. I was like, you know what? It's so cringy and so uncomfortable. I'm just going to, cut the whole chapter out, because, God, I don't even want to read it again, much less edit it. And he says, no, there's character growth. You have to have it. You have to keep it. I'm like, well, I'm going to shorten it some.
I did agree with the cringy, though, to be fair.
So I ended up, I don't know how I did this exactly, but I copied the chapter because it was late in the process. I didn't want to lose what I had in case what I wrote was just garbage. And so I rewrote it, and then I copy and pasted. So both chapters were the same. And then I got up and walked away from my computer. When I came back, I was like, oh, I misnumbered it. Chapter 18, this one should be chapter 19. So it's the exact same chapter 18 and 19, the cringiest thing I will ever write in my life. And it's in all, I ordered like 200 hard copies of between hard books and hardbacks and paperbacks. I still have them. I'm selling. They're limited edition if you want them. You can have double the cringe and you can relive the scene. And God, I will one day be done with these books, but it is not yet.
That's funny. That's
so
funny.
Yeah, this is why every time when I mention something, everyone brings up chapter 18 and 19, which, yeah, identical.
I was actually thinking of the grapes, but I forgot what chapter that was. So
Anyway,
doesn't matter. Let's not do it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's a bald dome though, Mike.
What's that?
There's a bald dome, right? Are we doing that?
We can do the bald dome.
It's that time.
It is that time. So Danielle, can you pick a character of yours who is decisive in their actions?
Mariah B.
Mariah B. Okay, so we're going to learn more about Mariah B. But again, we don't want you to give us spoilers. So she is going to be whisked away, and this is usually for fantasy authors, but we'll work with it. So she's going to be whisked away to someplace else, completely alien to her. She's going to be given a potion that is 100% effective, but you have no idea what it does. And then she gets her choice of a common item or a weapon. If she chooses a common item, she will run into a common animal, and you'll have to tell us how this works. This scene works itself out. If she chooses a weapon, she will face a fantasy creature. So, do you want her to have a common item or a weapon?
Weapon.
Okay, and what is your favorite color?
Pink.
So she has a pink fizzy potion that is 100% effective. It's in an Erlenmeyer flask with a rubber stopper, the traditional green rubber stopper. If you've been a chemist, you know what I'm talking about.
It's in a what?
So she has this. She's going to be whisked away. Let me roll some dice here.
What kind of flask is it in, Michael?
An Erlenmeyer.
What the hell is that?
It's the triangular one. You know, it goes up here and then it has a neck. Okay. Anyway, I'll show you an example.
If you're thinking about a little chemist's flask thing, it's what you're thinking of.
Yes, I get that now.
Okay, so what the name? Marjorie?
No, this is Mariah. Mariah B.
See, I pushed my luck and tried to get two names right in the one show. Okay, so Mariah has been sent to a magical library filled with arcane knowledge.
Ooh,
I know, a new one. I've not
been here before. How exciting!
Well, it's a 14. I never roll above 10, so you know. So she has a pink fizzy potion, which I did not roll for that.
I have it.
A 4.
No, I've got it.
Oh, you got it. So Ro knows what I don't even know what the pink fizzy potion is, but 100% effective. Now, you said she wanted a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a wooden mallet, she is going to get a Morning Star, which is this right here, a spike ball on a stick.
I know what it is. Yep.
Okay.
I use that in Elden Ring.
Okay.
You have time to play Elden Ring? Oh my God.
I'm sorry, what?
You have time and the manual dexterity to play Elden Ring?
Yep.
So with her, what do we say, Morning Star, she is walking around in this magical library. She's walking through there looking for the card catalog because, you know, she still likes those things.
Wow, you just lost half the audience there, but okay.
This is what I do. So she gets to the end of the aisle, she turns left, and lo and behold, she sees a cyclops with a wooden club sitting there, kind of drooling out of its mouth, and it looks at its one eye and it fixes on her, and they both sort of freeze for a second. So there you have it. She has her Morning Star, she has her pink fizzy potion, and the cyclops has just stared like dead at her, started drooling, and hasn't moved yet. What happens next?
Since she tried to talk to it, definitely. She tried to talk to it and try to make friends with it. But if it attacked her, then she would she has superhuman speed because she is a humanoid robot. So she would probably throw the potion into the Cyclops' one eye and then incapacitate it with the Morning Star before it even knew what happened.
So first things first, she's going to talk to it in a soothing voice.
She doesn't really use a soothing voice. She's very methodical, and she would ask it to she would ask it to she would just ask it questions. Why are you here? She's very curious. Why are you here? What are you doing? Are you reading?
So, Ro, do we need to roll for this?
Yeah. I mean, if it's a drooling Cyclops, I'd say you have to roll pretty high for it to give a decent response.
12.
Yeah, no.
Okay, which is double what I normally roll. So it's a good roll for me, but not good enough. So no, Cyclops is definitely not caring about that. Starting to approach, lifts the club up like it's ready to, use it if need be, and takes a step towards your character. So now, is it the potion?
So it's being really threatening.
It's still 15 feet away. It's taking one step, but it's not friendly. It's kind of like me in the morning.
Because if it's not attacking, then she could probably incapacitate it pretty fast.
Mike, 14 or better.
So she would wait it out. She would wait it out. She would see if it did anything more.
Yeah. Mike actually rolled a 14, which is something. She realizes that he is getting ready to attack.
Yeah, then she would throw the potion in its eye.
Okay. The potion hits. The cheap sugar glass explodes. And right away, the club falls from the Cyclops' hands. You ever see Deadpool, the first Deadpool?
Long time.
When he got his hands chopped off and they started growing back and they were little baby presidential hands? That's what he has now. His little baby hands. So he can't actually grip his club.
So she would probably feel bad for it.
Okay.
She would probably feel bad for it and watch and see what it would do.
I imagine he would try to stomp on you.
Oh, she would. If it's trying to stomp on her, she would then. How tall is this thing?
18 feet.
Jesus.
18 feet. So she would then scale one of the bookcases and jump on its back and use the Morning Star probably to, choke it.
Well, I mean, it's got little baby hands, so you may as well be riding a T-Rex. It's just, you can't do anything. So.
Yep.
So I rolled for the whole, choking it, and we're back to normal Mike territory, a 7.
A 7. Yeah, okay, so he's got a double chin. He stops that. And roll again, Mike. 16 or better.
7 again.
He tries to lunge back and slam you into a wall, but slips. So you got him on one knee now.
What would she do?
If you're going to be trusting on Mike to roll anything that's going to happen to you,
so
it's going to end up with a tea party, isn't it?
She would. If it's on one knee, I mean, it's she's still hung onto its back or its hair or something. I don't know if it has hair.
Yep, that's okay. Yep.
But then she would it has that massive of a double chin. Let's see. Then she would maybe try to levity. Yes. She would just try to let's see. She would hit it on the side of the head to make it render it unconscious, I guess. She would feel bad because it has these tiny little hands.
You're gonna hit it the side of the head with a Morning Star?
Yep.
Okay.
No, she's not. A 6.
He gave it a glancing blow. One of the spikes cut it across the eye because it moved its head back.
Across the eye, so it's blind now?
No, it's just across the.
Oh, the forehead. Okay.
Well, no, the blood's going to go into its eyeball.
Oh, that's true.
Right, only one eye. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're between books, and it's 18 feet tall. So I don't, So Mike, it's going to like just lunge to try to crush her against the bookcase.
Yeah, all she has to do is then smash like take one of the bookcases, push one of the bookcases to try to sandwich it against the floor.
It's not your turn then.
Oh, that's what she'll do next then.
14 for the Cyclops.
Okay. So I would say it gives you a good hit and it separates you. Now go ahead and do what you want to do.
The bookcase?
Oh, is it trapped under there?
No, it dislots you.
It separated you, right?
It went back into a bookcase and it was jarred you off, so you're no longer holding on to it.
Oh yeah, so she would then push a bookcase onto it.
Superhuman strength, you said?
Oh yeah, she's a humanoid robot. She's a giant
Oh, yeah.
humanoid robot.
Okay, let's just say that it happens. But roll anyway, because if you get like a 1, and you will.
7.
Jesus.
Big on 7s tonight.
But let's just say you knock it out. It collapses under a pile of books.
You know what? Then she would tie it up, and then when it wakes up, she'd try to teach it how to read.
Wow.
Nice.
It's not going to have baby hands forever. You know that, right?
By that time, it'll want to hold the books.
Only if Mike rolls more than a 10. We'll give you the happy ending.
13.
Yay.
Lucky 13.
All right.
Lucky 13.
Okay, so Danielle, people can find you at your name just like it's up there, Danielle Saint-Just, without the period after the ste.com.
Yeah, .com.
So
and also on X with my name.
If you want to find Galaxia Mordum or the Marjorie the Vampire Dentist,
yep.
Check out her website. Are any of these available on audio?
Oh, no, not yet. I did record my first one. I have to publish it, though. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I know you have a hike to get out there in the lovely California sunshine. So,
yeah. Well, thank you very much. This was fun. And thank you for letting Mariah B. star in a Harry Potter episode.
It was almost, wasn't it?
Just about. Okay. Well, Danielle.
While we have you, really quickly then, you brought it up. Who was the star? Who was the real hero of Harry Potter?
That close to getting out.
You almost made it.
Who was the real star?
That's
such a subjective classification, though. I mean, the real star of Harry Potter is the wish, the inherent goodness of the majority of the humans. That was the real star. There was no one person that was a star.
But looking at characters, who was the hero?
The hero. I'm sorry. You said hero, and I turned it to star. The hero is humanity. Yeah, the cat, Filch's cat, actually. The hero is the shared humanity. There's no one hero.
As cop-out answers go, Danielle will give you that one. That's okay.
It's true, though. It's true. No, Filch is not the only one who did their job. Also, what's her name? What is her name? The terrible lady. A lot of the Death Eaters did their job very well.
Dolores Umbridge.
Dolores Umbridge, that's her name. She did her job very well. They all I mean, the people who were the evil side, the Death Eaters, the Voldemort's followers, the more, not the ones who, were like, oh, I was never bad, but the ones who stayed with him were very devoted. So if you were from their point of view, they would be the hero because they were very heroic and stayed by him.
Interesting.
Okay. There we go. Another new answer. See, Mike, I know you don't like the question, Mike, but at least there's a variety of answers with this.
There's always a variety of answers. So,
all right.
And on
thank
that note,
Danielle, and thank you to everybody who showed up tonight on a Tuesday evening. And we will be back. When will we be back, Mike?
Tomorrow.
Really? Tomorrow?
Or is it Thursday? One of those with E.L. Lyons.
It is tomorrow. Yeah, E.L. Lyons. All right.
So if you have any grammar questions, E.L. is a perfect person to ask. I'm going to try to incite her by telling her that English only needs one raised horizontal line, and it should be the hyphen, and we should get rid of the M and N dash.
Yeah, those are
so yeah.
Don't touch my M dashes.
So that might be the first person to actually leave our show in anger when I say
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Well, you know what you're going to have to do is use a bunch of ungrammatical language when introducing, and
I think we can get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're capable of that.
I'll just talk like normal. I'll be more gooder.
All right. Well,
All
thank
right.
you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. We'll hopefully see you tomorrow. And thank
Yep.
you, Danielle. Enjoy the sunshine.
All right. Thanks.